Hey guys, before we get into things, please subscribe to our channel and make sure you turn on notifications so you know every time we post. And also, head over to our social pages, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram so you can see clips and chat wrestling with us. But now, let's get into the video. C2 Wrestling is back. Let's just break it. We say it every single time. Another fantastic show. Every show is must see. Snowden, this Raw, not only top to bottom was great, but the ending specifically added to. You just have to watch every show. You don't know what you're going to get at this point.
You absolutely do not. You have to watch every show. Now, if you didn't see, I uploaded a live reaction to the last few minutes of that last Monster Standing match between Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed, which included the infamous Seth Rollins return. We're going to get into momentarily. Go back and check that video out. It is not only the return of Seth Rollins, it is the return of your boy. Sorry, look, my microphone, my mic was like messed up for a second, but it was the return of your boy, Snowden. Last week, I was out of commission. I had a bug. I was sick. It is what it is. We're back. I'm a little bit sick still, but we're going to truck through because there's another bug. It's the wrestling bug, and I was born with that one. So we're trucking through. Yeah. Had to record that reaction. That was great, watching that live. Now, I have to say, throughout the week, like a couple days ago, I had thought to myself, there is a possibility Seth returns. But honestly, it was like a blip. I don't even think I brought it up to you, in all honesty, that I had thought that. I thought it that one random time, Wednesday, noon, whatever time it was, and I never thought of it again. Even the entire time I was watching that match, it did not come to mind that Seth might come out here or there might be an interference. Go back and watch the clip, but you'll see me notice Seth coming down the ramp. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? You know, that was crazy. I was a big fan of that.
I'm not going to lie. I did not think about Seth at any point. Not even when I saw him at the Ravens game promoting WWE. Not only like I wasn't even thinking about it then, like, oh, maybe Seth is coming back now. It wasn't until 5 minutes before it happened. I'm doing work, and I have Raw on my iPad while I do work. And it just randomly hits me. We might get Rollins here. And I texted you. I was like, are we going to get Rollins here? And I knew you were recording. And I was like, damn, I wish I was able to record right now. I'm so backed up on work. As I've said, October is going to be a very busy month for us. I'm like, damn, we might get Rollins. Go back to doing work, whatever. Watched out of the corner of my eye. Expected the ring break spot once, they went up to the top rope. I was like, all right, here it comes. We all know it's coming. And then I thought to myself, when the ring broke, I was like, wow, Bronson's moving pretty quick. Because I was then thinking what you had said last week. Maybe we get a finish where referee's at 8, Bronson gets up, and he breaks the count for himself and wins. I'm like, oh, Snowden, he's got it right, but this is really quick. And then all of a sudden, you just see out of like the corner, and Joe Tessitore, have to say, fantastic tonight from top to bottom. He was great in that call too. Yeah. I loved it. Before Bad Blood, like, talk about just a random spot to have this showing why you need to watch Raw.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, these shows in between these pay-per-views, PLEs, now whatever you want to call them, are must-see. Yeah, it's maybe one Raw out to Bad Blood, so it's a little bit more stacked because it's leading up to the pay-per-view. But who knows? They can do these returns, these surprises at any point at this time. Now, it was great. It was all around great. Top to bottom of the match. It was exactly what I expected out of a last monster standing, going through some barricades, through some tables, fighting in the crowd. I'm going to nitpick a little bit here. We're going to do this. The ring break could have been better. And what I mean is we've seen it. Again, we've seen it 3, 4, 5 times. How many times we've seen it at this point? It's the same typical kind of ring break we've seen. I'm not opposed to it necessarily, but man, it would have been cool if they had done it in somehow a different fashion. I don't really even know. I don't even really have an idea, but maybe the ring breaks a different way. I do think I said it on last week's review that maybe they go through the ring. I don't know. Maybe they could have been changed up a little bit to be a little bit more fresh. It was identical to the Brock Big Show, all the Strowman ones, any of the ring break we've seen outside of Bronson and Braun getting up after the fact. Usually that's the end of the show, end of the pay-per-view. But they ended up getting up. Seth Rollins comes out, hits the curb stomp, looks strong. Braun Strowman gets the win. I even said during the reaction, that this is built for Bronson Reed to win, retain whatever sort of strength he's got going into whatever else. But him losing here in this fashion does nothing but wonders, I think, for everybody involved. We've gone over this in many similar scenarios. Losing's not bad when it's right. No matter the beast he's supposed to be or whoever it is, that was great. Him losing is A-OK.
One spot that I have to mention, that Death Valley driver, beautiful
Mm-hmm.
from
Beautiful, yeah.
whatever the top into the tables. Beautiful. That was a spot that I was not expecting. Like that is a spot that when they announced the match, it's like if we get a spot like that, that's awesome. I loved that.
Yeah.
Him losing, like you said, it doesn't hurt him, but it also helps in the fact that they had Seth Rollins off for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
when Seth got taken out, we came on here and we said, I don't want to see Seth in a week. I don't want to see him in 2 weeks. I want him gone. I want him out of our minds. And honestly,
Yeah.
if he wasn't in Baltimore at Sunday Night Football last night, no one would have been thinking about Seth. The fact that he was doing PR for WWE is the only reason he was on people's minds and people's timelines. That's exactly
Mm-hmm.
how it should have been, where he was just out of the picture. And now time has passed and it makes sense for him to come back. And he has a vendetta to go against Bronson Reed. And now this will segue us into our other topics from Monday Night Raw. It is a very, very strong story that is not involving a title. And right now, Raw and SmackDown are filled with strong, I guess you could call them mid-card stories, but
Yeah.
strong stories that don't involve not even a tag title, a singles title, anything.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time there's been so many of these great, as we'll call it, mid-card stories going on that I can name a few people and go, that should be the next Intercontinental Champion, or that should be the next this, next that. Oh, but wow, there's also this person. And then there's also this person. Like, there's so much great going on that it's hard to almost keep track of at a point. I think about how great this Bronson match is. The Bronson push is going, but then I think back and I'm like, man, but there's also a pretty good storyline going on with Xavier right now. Do you maybe give Xavier like an Intercontinental title run before you give it to Bronson? I don't know. There's a lot of great things going on. It's only just the beginning in a way too. Like we still are early on into this regime again, we'll call it. I feel like we've been a little bit repetitive on the talk about that, but it's because it's necessary, in my opinion. What we've seen just in the last few months, few weeks post WrestleMania 40 is only the beginning. We're still leading up into a little bit of predictability, perhaps going into Mania 41. We can, call the shots with some stuff coming. But once we kind of hit that wall and we're going into the next year, the next season of wrestling, it's fair game. We're going to be getting surprises and stuff like this. A Seth Rollins return, all this stuff a lot more often, I think.
I think it was maybe last week or a week or two ago. We were talking about how there's a ton of returns set up. We had mentioned Seth.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Becky at some point. Charlotte will be pretty soon.
Yep.
Raquel, like these are big names that have been out and will still be out. And we're going to get those big moments, but then they also come into fresh storylines. Tonight, we saw the Xavier Woods storyline. Talk about a story. We've said this. The first 5 weeks of it was just very slow. Did
Mm-hmm.
not feel like it had any momentum. The last month of it, you could argue, is the best story on Raw, which is a tough argument because everything has been so good. But propelling his story with multiple segments to do so, and the Miz heel turn, two fantastic stories that Raw going from 3 hours to 2 hours actually has me like, man, these stories are so good that they're gonna lose some time on some of these things. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said that. Like 3 hours is way
Yeah.
too
They've
long. And now I'm like, oh, all these stories are so good. They got plenty of time.
Yeah, they kind of found a way to make the 3 hours work. And it is kind of like, damn, man, we got less now coming up for a little while. But that's okay. Less is more in some fashions. And I think with as great as everything has been, just kind of crowding it a little bit more, maybe cutting one or two things out is only going to make those other things shine a bit more. It's been great. Everything's been great again. I think they have a plan going into these 2 hour shows up until Netflix. I think they're going to fill the shows maybe even better. But on top of Xavier Woods facing off against Ray, taking the mask off Ray, all the heel tactics, there's been another wrestler I wanted to bring up that we haven't, seen too much of, maybe that we would like to see more of, but we're not gonna for a while. And that is Ilja Dragunov, unfortunately. I believe it was torn ACL
That's what
was
they
the
were saying,
injury.
torn ACL.
Yeah. Ah, man, that's a shame. You know what? It's very much a shame. He's hurt. Obviously, you don't want to see any guys get hurt. On the contrary, some things sometimes timing works out wonderfully. And Ilja Dragunov is a guy that, in all this ruckus going on, all this great stuff on Raw, wasn't quite fitting in anywhere on a 3 hour show. How are they going to make it work on the 2 hour show? Maybe the time off works for him in a way, as much as it sucks to see because he's a hell of a talent. But maybe it's okay because now we don't have to worry. Where is Ilja? Why is he not on the show? Things like that. And yeah, he's been a little bit more involved in the past couple of weeks, but it was only a few weeks prior to that. I was seeing people all over online, complaining. And even I was a little, man, I want to see more of Ilja. But it's a shame, man. That's a bad one to hear about.
Let me tell you,
Here.
I know that they were starting to get into they started teasing a story of him with the Judgment Day. So who knows what we could have potentially gotten there. If it wasn't any further confirmation needed about us having the same brain, I was
Mm-hmm.
going to come on here for this topic and say, I try to be glass half full. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to put an optimistic spin on this. We now have his return is going to feel huge. He was killing it on live shows. People are going to want to see him. The
Mm-hmm.
time of his return, I mean, you could be looking at a Raw after Mania return, a big moment. All right,
Yep.
it sucks that he doesn't have a Mania match potentially, but that's a big
Mm-hmm.
moment. His timing also lines up. You could be looking at him potentially as a favorite for Money in the Bank next year.
Yep. Yeah.
And it like everything is still fresh with him. He hasn't gotten into any significant stories, so when he is back, everything will feel new. So like positive spin. Look, as a fan, the roster's so stacked, and we know the wheel's going to keep on spinning. And they've they've survived John Cena injuries, they've survived Randy Orton injuries.
Yeah.
These things go on. It does suck because we love Ilya so much and we know what he can be. But positive spin, maybe it's just because the product is so good I can have this outlook. I'm not going to say this is good for him. Absolutely
Yeah.
not. But it
But it will be
makes me
okay.
it makes me more excited about his future knowing we're getting that big
Yeah.
moment. And when done right, I mean, look, not to get into a whole segment of fantasy booking, but who's to say Gunther
I
drops
was
the title to
yep.
Cena at Mania, and then the next night on Raw, Ilya returns and goes after Gunther and sets up Ilya versus
Yeah.
Gunther, the guy who took him out and tore his ACL. I mean, if that is not just perfect storytelling right there, that would line up
Yep.
perfectly.
I was just gonna bring that up actually. It's a Liv Rhea, type moment where the wrist it was of Rhea, right? I believe
Yeah,
whatever the injury
wrist or
was, the
shoulder or
shoulder, I
something.
kind of
Yeah.
forget. Yeah, but that injury only propels the feud. Not that Ilya is going to come back and they're going to lead right into Ilya Gunther, but now there's a story there potentially that Ilya went out via the hands of Gunther.
Mhm.
And that's something. That's already a match people are craving to see. We're gonna get it at some point. There's a lot of great stuff we can get to fill the time till then. I'm okay waiting. As much as I hate to see my boy Ilya go down, man, we were popping hard for him live at Stand and Deliver. Monday Night Raw, the night after Mania, man. We
Well,
are
to
day
be
one Ilya
fair,
fans. It is tough to see him go down.
at Stand and Deliver, I was not popping hard for him because during his match, your boy was fighting belly demons during the Ilya Tony D match. The next night on
That's
Raw was
true.
going crazy for
That
him,
is true.
but
You had that
but I,
wrestling bug again.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
struggling. Your boy,
Yeah.
it was a rough weekend at that
Yeah.
point for the
Listen,
kid.
man. Yeah. By the time of Monday, you guys got to realize man, I'm probably like 3 Lincoln Financial cheesesteaks in, I got a couple of stadium hot dogs in my system.
One you got for
like,
free?
it's not going well. Yeah, one I did get for free because I had to wait like 40 minutes. Okay, it wasn't that long. I'm definitely exaggerating. But, it was a long weekend, a great weekend. Not the best diet, I'm sure, all weekend. And we definitely paid for it. That's another story. That's another podcast.
Yeah,
But
that's a story for another day. But Ilya, we were
mhm,
talking about him facing Gunther. One last thing we got to talk about from Raw. We have the confirmed match, Gunther versus Sami Zayn, happening next week on Raw. Now, I could see
mhm,
that being a little funky finish. I've said they are probably going to face in Saudi. So I don't think this is
yeah.
going to be one and done of a rematch. Maybe
Mhm,
it's looking like Zayn's about to beat him and Ludwig gets involved. I don't know. I don't want to just dismiss this story, but to me, there's such an elephant in the room now after what happened on Raw. First off, the show opens with Braun Breaker, Jey Uso. He interrupts him. You're thinking Braun's going to take out Jey. No, they give each other the rub, and then Jey kind of elevates Braun to more being into a face. And then we get a backstage segment, Gunther cutting a promo, and Braun interrupts and is looking at his title. And we are now 1000% on the path of Braun Breaker turning face. We knew this since he's been doing the where my dog's at, like,
mhm.
whatever. But we are now on the path to, and I did not think it was going to be happening this quick. But Braun Breaker versus Gunther, look, it might not be in 2 weeks, but boy, was there a seed planted tonight.
That very well happens at Survivor Series, to be honest with you. There was a big seed planted. And go back to NXT 2.0 days. Braun Breaker's got a win over my man Gunther, not just any win. Took a title off my man. So if anyone's going to take another title off him, it could be Braun. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't want that to happen, though. Not yet. I'm liking the Gunther run. I would love Braun as champion. It's a little quick, in my opinion, for Braun. Get him in that IC title realm again, sure. This might be a hot take here. I'm not a big proponent of having him turn face. I'd rather him stick heel, in my opinion. I think he had a better heel run in NXT and just fits that heel bill so well. I understand where they're going with the where my dog's at type stuff. And man, he's going to kill it in merch and all this. And he's a great face to begin with. But I don't know, man. I think he had a little bit more to him than they let him show in just his recent run. I would have liked to see him stay heel and maybe feud it out with Jey Uso. One thing I do got to bring up very quickly, briefly, great thing that we haven't mentioned yet, that IC title.
Beautiful.
It's looking pretty good.
So much better.
Looking pretty good. So much. It's crazy how just the littlest change. That IC title for a while has been my least favorite looking title in all of wrestling. And listen, I don't know where it ranks now just by adding some blue, but man, that did wonders for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been like a mock design for a while that's finally come
A
true.
while.
But Braun Breaker face turn, I think we're going to see more of a similar Braun Breaker to the Wolf Dogs, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where he's a face, kind of still has his heel tendencies, but he's not
Yeah.
coming out to the crowd and, saying I'm
Mm-hmm.
not to steal a line from Sami Zayn, but I'm the underdog from the underground or anything like that. I have to look at this from a Gunther standpoint because if you guys don't know or forgot, this is a Gunther Stan channel. That is 1000%. That is our guy. Do love Braun
That
though.
is our guy.
I love the story of Gunther righting every single wrong in his career. They didn't think he actually beat Orton because his shoulders weren't down. He gets that win back. Sami Zayn, the only guy to beat him during his run, he gets that win back. Braun Breaker
Mm-hmm.
beat him in NXT. He gets that win back. When Ilya returns, there's your story.
Full
Every
circle.
person that's done him, he's gotten his lick back. And I know he's beaten Ilya on the live events. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's not on TV. It don't matter. The story is there. Braun Breaker has the win over him. He is one of the very few to pin him. We know he can beat him. He is
Mm-hmm.
believable to beat him. But at the same time, this is our ring general, our World Heavyweight Champion. And although I do love Braun Breaker, no man or woman, anyone gets in the ring with Gunther and lives to tell about it. That's my promo.
Not a single person. This again, this again is a Gunther Stan account. Listen, we are big fans of lots of wrestlers in lots of companies, but Gunther, that's what you would call the total package. He is our world heavyweight champion, and I want him to stay that way. Give me the look, the Imperium. This has been C2 Wrestling with yet another Raw review. Fantastic Raw. Last 3-hour Raw on cable TV ever in history. It's crazy. Maybe we'll get some longer shows leading into Netflix. But until then, we'll be coming back at you with 2-hour reviews. We'll see how that goes, see if they fill that show properly. But you know the deal. C2 Wrestling, guys. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought. Like and subscribe. Follow us on all the social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X. Something to say?
This is a huge week. NXT tomorrow. We'll have potentially some reactions, a post show for NXT. SmackDown is going to be big. Snowden might have to go solo on that because your boys got work. Bad Blood. Oh, I skipped. Sorry. Thursday, the podcast. Bad Blood predictions.
Can't forget the most important part.
Of course. Then Bad Blood. Might have a little something special in the works for Bad Blood from your boy. And then you got to be here for post-show reactions, reviews, you name it. This is a big week. We want you here. Subscribe, share, comment, you name it.